AITA for telling my sister she lost me the second she even considered dating my ex who gave me an STD and didn't tell me. I, 28F, was with a guy called Jason, 29M, when we were 21 years old. We broke up when I was 22 after I'd found out he had not only cheated on me, but knew he contracted an STD from sleeping around and didn't tell me. He had known about it and he was told he needed to speak to any sexual partners because of the risks associated with this STD to fertility, and he said nothing. I remember when I told my family what had happened. They were all there to support me and my sister. 27F was one of them. I did move on and I met my husband a year after breaking up with Jason. And thankfully I was able to get pregnant and we have a baby together. But I never forgot about the fact Jason did what he did. Cheating was bad enough, but you can move on. The STD was where it became not only unforgivable, but I would have taken issue with anyone in my family, even becoming friends with him after that point. But then 3 months ago, my sister asked me if I would be okay with her dating Jason. She told me she didn't want to lose me, but they had met again after several years and she liked him and he'd changed. I walked away from my sister without saying a word, and she started dating Jason officially. Though when she came to me like she did and asked me like she did, I would guess they had been unofficial before that point and not just friendly. I have shut my sister out of my life, and she has not been allowed to come and meet my child. The rest of the family stands me and what I decided, but they have not shut her out of their lives, which is totally fine and not an issue for me. But my sister doesn't like that, and she has tried to get in touch with me several times, and has cried and asked me to hear her out and to talk to her. The fact I have run into her once since and I ignored her. She was talking to me, but I acted like she was a ghost I couldn't see or hear. So she ambushed me at my house the other day and told me she doesn't want to lose me and she'll break up with Jason if I stop ignoring her, and we can go back to being sisters. I told her she lost me the second she even considered dating him. I told her I might not have known about it in that moment, but once I heard she wanted to date him, knowing what he did to me, it was over. She's crying about it now, and our family are refusing to hear her cries about it. My baby sister, 24, told me she's trying to get the rest of the family to confront me about it, but nobody will. She does think our sister is genuinely hurt about this, but she feels like it's her own fault. And I agree. But I know what I said to her might still be overly harsh, because even thinking about it without acting on it would have led to this, which might be wrong of me. So I'm here to ask AITA. I let my chronically ill 8-year-old daughter try weed. The title pretty much sums it up, but I need to get this off my chest, so I'll share some more context with you. My 8-year-old daughter has spent her life in and out of hospital. She's entirely tube-fed, incontinent, and has significant pain with walking. She's unable to climb or lift herself, and for outings that involve any walking, she uses a stroller. It absolutely breaks my fucking heart to see how much she tries, but it hurts me more seeing how much pain she's in. She's already on the strongest doses of painkillers for her tiny weight, and that doesn't even dent it. She's in physio 3 days a week and heat therapy for 2 more days a week. The only way she sleeps is with strong sedatives, which have their own side effects. She's irritable and groggy the following day. If she's not sedated, she will be screaming from the intolerable pain by bedtime. That said, she's incredibly precocious and recognized as gifted. I had to deregister her from school when her mobility became more significantly impaired. But she thrives at home ed. She'll be sitting all of her GCSEs early. She loves to swim. She loves to ride her bike with her brothers. She's so kind and so loving. She's an absolutely amazing child. In the light of my life, I cannot stand seeing her hurt. She's had 14 surgeries so far in her life, and there's at least 2 more that she's going to need before she's 10. She's aware of everything that's happening, and that's what is so heartbreaking. So a week ago, her mother and I allowed her to take 2 drags on a THC vape I'm prescribed legally. I know how wrong and how risky what we did is, but it wasn't against her will, and we explained in as much detail as possible all of the risk to the limit of her understanding, which is a lot. She can debate the morality of the death penalty for draft resistors in WW1. I'm 100% sure she understood that it was against the law and what the risks were, and ultimately she had the right to say yes or no. I explained that it would be a one-time thing, and it might or might not work, like a science experiment. We already arranged for her brothers to stay with their uncle for the night, so my daughter could have 2-to-1 attention. Her mother and I were both with her for 100% of the time. She ate her first oral meal in over 6 months that night and slept well for 9 hours without sedation. The next morning, she was happy and smiley in the morning, and it wasn't until 32 hours, yes, we timed it, that she was in any visible pain or discomfort. I wish the laws were different, and there would be some way she could be prescribed it at her age, but alas, for now, she has something to look forward to for when she turns 18. If nothing else, I've given her some hope of eventual relief. I regret that the law was broken. I regret that we took a risk. I don't know whether the ends justify the means at all, and honestly, I think I'm going to be kept awake at night for a few weeks thinking about things like this. I'm expecting total unfiltered judgment in the comments. I deserve it. It doesn't come close to my self-flagellation anyway. TIFU by signing work documents with penises NSFW. This happened over the course of mid-2023 to 2024, and I was officially caught right after my 20th birthday. There I was, working a car manufacturing job for a fairly popular brand. The job itself wasn't too bad, as I was lucky enough to end up in an easier section of the assembly line putting together the car bumpers. But the second shift hours, 5 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., were absolutely nightmarish for a guy that had at least a few friends he liked to hang out with during the waking hours of the day. Pair that with the almost an hour drive there and hour back, and the immaturity of a 19-year-old ridden with unmedicated ADHD and very poor forethought, and you get a guy that makes decisions as stupid as this. Each section of the assembly line is split up into a bunch of somewhat simple and mundane jobs that we do on repeat as the cars come by, and we would remain on those for about 2 hours before each break period, and rotate onto another so that we aren't stuck doing the exact same thing for 8 hours straight. When it came to someone learning a job they're new to in order to keep from drowning, as they called it, we would first be assigned to watch someone experienced on the job perform it, then try it ourselves over the course of a few days. Once we've reached a point that we think we can complete the jobs without being supervised by someone experienced, we would sign off on them by signing an electronic document on an iPad after reading through the task instructions one last time. Well, the area to sign is a box that you use the touchscreen to write on, and it was extremely common to just scribble random gibberish on it rather than place an actual signature. Well, after quite a while of learning tasks and signing off on them, one day I just decided to draw a wiener in the sign area, and I'm not talking in explicit detail. I'm talking the most basic middle schooler penis drawings you can get. 2 spheres and an oval in between them. I always figured that no one actually took the time to look at the signatures, and that whenever you signed off on a job, a little check mark would just appear next to your name on a data screen somewhere in upper management. My co-workers had seen me do this, and the more jaded ones would have themselves a little chuckle about it. But that would be it. No one snitched on me, that much I'm confident about. This went on for months, and nothing came out of it. I did it so much that it wasn't even really that funny anymore. It just became a habit that I'd maybe have a giggle at once every few times I did it. Fast forward after Christmas and into the new year of 2024, and the he schedule paired with the drive had become too much for me, and I finally threw in the towel and put in my 2 weeks notice in February, and my last day was for March 1st. Another thing to note is the reprimand system. Whenever you got in trouble for something, be it drowning the line too hard, getting caught with food or drinks other than water on the line, stuff like that, you'd get a coaching, which if you get too many of, becomes a counseling that sticks to your record for a few months and stops you from moving to different areas or getting promotions, so on and so on. With counselings, they pull you off the line to give you a slip of paper that explains these effects in detail, sort of just the typical corporate jargon. I had gotten one over a few attendance infractions, one of which was not being able to show up for a Saturday they were making us work due to production issues, which count against you on attendance even though we only get notified. Maybe 4 days before, most of the time. Another one of the reasons I quit. I'm sure you could only imagine my surprise when within the same week of my last day, I was pulled off of the line and shown a counseling slip, along with a lineup of my crudely drawn penises in faded ink printed on a blank sheet of paper, by a woman whom my coworkers would later go to speculate was the head of the entire factory building, that looked like she was just a few pushes away from addressing me with words that most certainly belong in the workplace, even less than my penises did. She went on to lecture me about how immature and inappropriate it was, and yeah, she's not wrong, and how much it pissed her off when she saw it. From the way she spoke, I don't think she even knew that I was quitting that same week, and that she would literally never see me again. After she was done, I silently signed the slip and went right back to my area, completely bewildered, which honestly was a good thing because if I wasn't, I doubt there's a snowball's chance in hell that I would have been able to keep a straight face. My coworkers, of course, thought it was absolutely hilarious. Even our area manager, who had sent me over to receive the counseling, but not known what it was about, couldn't hide that he thought it was funny when he found out. And he even went on to tell me that I was right. No one actually looks at sign-off signatures under normal circumstances. The only reason I was actually caught is because one of the new hires in the area I worked had some kind of error going on in the sign-off system that required someone to comb through it, where my penises were discovered in all their glory. We all had a good laugh about it, and so did my mother, despite being sure to instill a message that I should never do this again, which I won't. And on my last day, I brought in a bag of the Albanese gummy bears I'm always eating to share with them as a parting gift, and some of my other coworkers brought in other stuff for everyone for the occasion too. And one even brought in a home-cooked empanadas, which I wasn't expecting at all. After we had our fill of the bears, we drew more penises on the bears shown on the bag, and everyone left a little signature wishing me well. No problem. I still have the bag pinned to the wall of my bedroom. Although I did take a financial hit since that job, despite its faults, did pay really well. I can't say I miss it all that much. But I do miss the people there. I'm a bit of an introvert, so I don't really know how to keep in contact with people unless I know them really well. I'll never forget the things like all the bizarre conversations we used to have while we were so bored doing those repetitive jobs constantly. AITAH for telling my wife we either share our lotto winnings or we separate, and I get half anyway? My wife and I are extremely fortunate to have won a decent amount of money from lotto recently. It wasn't the top prize, but it was enough to pay off our sizable mortgage and still have some left over for vacations. The mortgage was by far our biggest weekly cost, and with that gone, we could both comfortably cut our hours back at work to only school hours and spend some more time with our kids. This was always a daydream we spoke about when we bought lotto tickets. I assumed this is what we would both do. When we got the money and paid off our house, everything almost immediately turned bad. My wife started talking about how amazing it's going to be finally not having to work anymore. I was blindsided by this. Even with the mortgage gone, we would still have to work at least school hours to keep our current standard of living. And on my salary alone, things would be tight. I asked if she was serious, and she said of course it was her ticket, and she gets to decide. This is BS because we both bought lotto tickets before, and when we moved in together, we only bought one because two seemed like a waste of money. I tried to reason with her, say she could use some of the extra to take some unpaid leave here and there, but she needs to keep her job. When I said, if I'm only working school hours, she absolutely flipped and started accusing me of being a gold digger and ruining this for her, how she deserved it after working so much of her life, etc. I asked her for a pause because I was honestly afraid she's never been like this before. The next few days, we tried to have this conversation again, but she didn't budge an inch. And when she said, well, it doesn't matter now because I'm putting in my notice at work, I lost it and told her, I'm not going through with this. If she's not going to share the winnings, which is under both of our names, I'll divorce her and get half through the house and therefore half the winnings away. This started another screaming match where she continued to call me a gold digger. I'm absolutely exhausted and lost. I feel like my wife has been replaced by an imposter. I would have preferred not winning if I knew this was going to happen.